I would love to introduce to you our very amazing guest today. I'm really honored that he's going to be spending some time with us and talking all things video. So we have joining us today Denzil, and he is the founder of Creative Clips Media, and he brings over 6 years of freelance videography experience, capturing stories from the vibrant streets of London all the way to the serene dunes of Dubai, which is very exciting. It sounds like a dream to me. And he has worked for brands that has engaged millions of people on social media, which led him to start Creative Clips Media. And under his leadership, his team is committed to delivering cinematic excellence. And guys, if you are not following him on LinkedIn or Instagram, I highly recommend that you do so after this, because his content is not only aesthetically pleasing, it's so helpful, and he explains video content so well, which is why we were so excited that he agreed to come on as our guest today. So without further ado, I would love if you could turn on your camera, Denzil, and then we can start our conversation. So hello.
Hello. Thank you. That was an amazing intro. First and foremost, man. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you again for having me on. I've not done this before, so this is an exclusive. You're the first person to actually get me on a webinar, and hopefully it's the first of many. I'm trying to do things to come outside my comfort zone a little bit every day. So that's an exclusive for you. So go easy on me, Emma, and go easy on me.
Okay. I will do my very best.
Yeah, but thank you for introducing me. My name's Denzil. I am the founder of Creative Clips Media, a video production company based in London, and we help founders and brands connect with their audience through video marketing, essentially. So we do anything from like commercials, case studies, testimonials, social ads, all of the above. And we pretty much help them to tell their stories. And one of our strap lines is, we turn your brand into a story that people will love. So just launched about over a year ago. I've been filming since around 2017, like you said. But I launched a company just over a year ago. So we're in our second year now, and it's going well. It's going well. It's super fun. And what I was doing before was really cool. I was really in the fashion space more. But I wanted to do stuff a bit more meaningful, have a bit of more of an impact through video. So that's why I wanted to be involved from literally the inception, the ideation, all the way through to delivery. And that was something I wasn't involved in before. I was literally just the guy at the end who films the stuff and gives it to them. Whereas now I'm more partnerish. I'm in partnership with brands, and we work together to kind of fulfill their ideas and their projects and stuff like that. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And I mean, right, like it's 2024. Everybody is using video. Everybody is talking about, you should be using video for your brand. So you're the go-to guy. Like when I think of video content, especially on LinkedIn, I think of you. So,
thank you.
Very exciting. So yeah, I want to jump into understanding video storytelling a little bit. So in your expertise, in your opinion, how do you define a brand story, and why is video the perfect way to tell your brand story?
That's a good question. I think for me, I'm going to answer this in probably two parts. So for me, the first part, when we talk about how do I define a brand story, I would say it's more of a journey. I'd say it's made up almost of mini stories, if you will. And I always like to say, I think I coined the term, but don't hold me to it. I like to say behind every brand, there's a story to tell. There's a person with a story to tell. And these stories are the bedrock of every single brand. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? And articulating this to an audience essentially formulates that brand story over time. So for me, a brand story is a journey, one that will grow and change alongside with you. And then when we talk about video and why it's an effective medium, I've always said that video is literally the next best thing outside of meeting in person. This was evident because in 2020, when the world shut down, video became literally everyone's go-to solution for that bit of authenticity, that bit of humanity that we're just holding on to when we're all locked indoors and we couldn't go outside and we couldn't meet people. That, and it's so immersive, and great at provoking emotions. You know, you get to hear the music, you get to see facial expressions. And so it's no wonder why stuff like IG, TikTok, all those platforms have blown up and just gone video crazy, and pretty much all the platforms are trying to copy and replicate them. So yeah, I think people who show up consistently on video just feel familiar. And that's a very powerful thing in itself, when you haven't actually ever spoke to the person, but you feel like you know them. So for me, that's why video is the most powerful medium we have at the moment.
Amazing. Yeah, I think you're spot on there, right? Because even if I hadn't met someone, like say for LinkedIn, for example, right? But if I see videos of them and I see how they talk and how they move, right? You feel like you know them. And that can be such a powerful thing to translate into your business, right? Because people buy from people, not from faceless corporations. So
that's what I say.
Yeah. On the same page there. Okay. So I'm curious if you have an example of a brand that does this really well, right? They showcase their personality through video, or even the people behind the brand. They do this really well with video. Do you have an example that, you know, you think they're doing this exceptionally well?
So I'm gonna kind of put a spin on this one. I'm gonna actually answer this more from a personal experience rather than just a brand. So I'm going to talk about a personal brand actually, and how it's inspired me. So there's YouTuber, you may know him, but you may not, but he's from your neck of the woods. Actually, he's in Canada. His name is Peter McKinnon, and a lot of filmmakers and photographers will know about him. So I used to watch his vlogs maybe like 2015, 2016. And he was one of the first people that I followed who were talking all things camera, filmmaking, how to do photography. But essentially he was vlogging and kind of taking you on his journey. And the way he would actually captivate you through the sounds, the music and everything, it was actually quite mind-blowing to me at the time. And every minute I watched his videos, I felt like I learned a lot and no minute was like wasted. And to talk about impact, I probably wouldn't be here with you on this call if I had not run into his YouTube channel, because his YouTube channel actually inspired me to go and start filming and pick up a camera. So I think if video can motivate people thousands of miles away to take action, I don't think there's any other bigger impact than that. And actually, I know that he didn't just inspire me; he inspired an entire generation of filmmakers and photographers all over. And I know this because we're in the first couple of years of picking up a camera, wherever I go and I meet other photographers or videographers, we could see the style is evident coming using from him. So we might make a joke, oh, is that from Peter? And they're like, oh, you know about Peter? So like, yeah, it's huge. The impact it can have is huge. But that's just more of a personal experience I wanted to share.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I've never heard of him. I'm going to look him up after this webinar because you've sold me on that, right? Like inspires you to basically start your career trajectory. Like that's amazing. So yeah, exactly. You've just beautifully demonstrated how powerful video can be, and inspiring people and getting people to take action, right? As well. So, okay. Exactly. So my next question, I want to move into more of like crafting a brand story with video, right? Like this is really our topic for today. And just curious, what are the key elements of a compelling brand story in video format? Are there certain things that you need to make sure that you're showcasing in your video format for your brand? Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
The key element. So I would probably say the things that come to mind for me when we're talking about brand story, obviously, like we mentioned, taking your audience on a journey, right? And a good way to do that is to be able to display three things. For me personally, emotion is one, immersion two, and authenticity is the third one for me. And I think when you're talking about emotion and immersion, they kind of go hand in hand, right? So getting your audience to feel what you want them to feel alongside a narrative, like I just mentioned with Peter, it's motivating, it's inspirational, and actually when you tie that into with all the technical stuff, you know, like use lighting, sound, music, tone of voice, color grading, you then have total influence on how you want the visuals to be received. So essentially you end up being super immersed. It's like when you watch, I don't know, a movie, right? And you see bad CGI, it kind of breaks the whole immersion. You're like, damn, man, why they got to do that? Now I know it's fake. But do you know what I'm saying? It's crafting all those things together to create a sense of immersion. And I think the other thing for me would be being authentic. That's the way to build long-lasting loyalty. And as you said, people trust people, right, more than they do faceless brands. And actually, as humans, we have a funny gut feeling when somebody's not really being authentic in their storytelling, and it instantly turns us off of them, and we don't trust anything about that brand anymore because, you know, we've caught them in a lie or whatever. So yeah, I would say for me, those are some key elements that I would focus on. You know, what do you want people to feel? Can you immerse them and actually always be yourself?
I love that. Yeah. Cause I mean, authenticity is kind of a buzzword. Like we hear it on LinkedIn all the time, but there's a reason for that, right? Because you're right. Especially in video, you can pick up on like body language and the way people say things and everything. So yeah, it's so important to be authentic and make sure you're able to have that come across, in a natural way, I guess.
It's like saying, oh, I'm so happy. Hold on. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm not being authentic, right? I don't look happy, right? So it's just stuff like that. It's just being yourself, right? And saying what you mean.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. Okay. So, you know, I'm curious as well. Obviously, you've worked with a lot of brands, you've done a lot of video content, and you also have an incredible personal brand of your own as well. But when you're sitting down to plan out your videos, is there a process that you go through with that? Is there like a certain checklist you have? Is it more kind of sporadic depending on the brand or the project? Yeah, what is your workflow for that?
So it differs a little bit when I'm working with a client and when I'm working with myself. So I'll focus on myself because I think most people watching are probably thinking about themselves and not filming for other people. So the first part is, well, there's three parts. Again, there's planning. There's ideation before the planning. There's ideation time. I set aside time to ideate, collect a bunch of ideas. Then there's planning. Then there's filming. So if we start there, I use something called intentional scrolling, which is basically I set aside maybe 30, 45 sometimes minutes to kind of go on social media, but not to have fun, to actually intentionally scroll and save ideas, whether it's in collections like IG has, or whether it's pinned mood boards in Pinterest, or whatever, or save videos in YouTube and just under a collection. And I just leave them there. I don't actually act on it on that day. It's just the time to ideate. Then when I'm ready to actually flesh things out, we go into the planning phase. And I call it I have this thing called a 60-20-20 rule. And that follows my pillars. So I'm sure, you know, being from marketing background, you know all about pillars. And the pillars I follow are awareness, nurture, and conversion. So I like to spend around 60% of the content creation on awareness, which is growth, because I'm in that growth stage where I'm growing my personal brand. Then I will dedicate 20% to nurturing the current people who are following me and kind of building that trust and loyalty. And then I'll spend about 20% on conversion content, which is whether it's generating sales, whether it's finding leads, stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'll go next. And then what I would do is I would move on to scripting. As does this video I'm creating have voiced audio, or is it just captions on a screen that takes you through a story? You know, you see that all the time on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. And then I loop back through and remove all the fluff. So because in that process, there's a bunch of stuff you type out whatever comes to your head, and I just try and keep things as concise as possible because video should only be as long as they need to be to get the message across. So I always get asked, how long should this video be? How long should I film for? It doesn't really matter. You want to respect people's time. So you don't want to just pad things with lots of filler words. It's why I tell people when they're filming themselves, just go through and cut out all the ums and arms and ahs and like, because nobody needs to see that. We just want the content. So yeah, that's a bit of my process. All comes before the filming, if that makes sense. And then I set aside time to then, because now I have an idea bucket list. I just go through and I say, all right, these 5 ideas, gonna whack them out in one sitting, film all of them, and be done with it. And that's batching basically.
Okay. I'm so glad that you brought up the point of respecting people's time with the content that you're making, because I think that's such an important piece of when you're making content, right? It doesn't even have to be video. It could be anything. Your audience, they want, when they're spending time on your content, they want to feel like they walk away with something that's either inspiring or educational or anything like that. So I love that you mentioned that, because it's a tough world out there with the attention spans, and you want your content to be seen. So you got to make it good and make sure people like leave with that impact. And they're like, wow,
exactly.
And I have to say, every time I watch one of your videos, I feel that you do an incredible job, really leaving your viewers with that impact. So love it. Okay. So, I'm going to ask you now for more of like the practical tips for creating standout content. Cause like you said, a lot of people in this room right now are, probably thinking about their own personal brands or how to, really come across in a way with video to represent themselves or their brand that they're trying to build. So do you have any practical tips for beginners, especially when they're, setting up that camera and they're trying to press record and film content for themselves?
Yeah. It's hard because I think this is very subjective to everybody, but I think something that everyone struggles with, being a beginner or somebody who's not really used to filming themselves, is actually sitting down and actually doing it and getting comfortable being in front of the camera. So I think the first thing I would say is film yourself over and over again, even if you don't post it, even if it doesn't need to actually land on social media. Just practice hearing what you sound like, seeing what you look like, picking up on your body language, and just repeating and getting comfortable, because the initial uncomfortability is what stops most people from actually filming at all and actually getting on video at all. So that's where I'd probably start. And actually, once you practice a bunch of times, you'll realize it's actually not as bad as you think it is. It's much worse in your head. Then I would move on. The first things I would say also to buy, right, to help this, cheap mic on Amazon and a cheap light. If your mic or your audio sucks or is bad, that's like the number one sin you can commit in video, because most people won't put up with it and they'll just click off as soon as possible if they can't hear any clarity in your voice. And then secondly, just a cheap light, just to, you want to actually take some pride in how you're coming across on camera as well, especially if it's for like your business or your personal brand. You do want to take a bit of pride in that. I think a bunch of other things are really subjective, but I think at the very, very start, most people never get past these things, especially just sitting down and repetitively filming. So start there, and when you get past that, there's a bunch of stuff that you can find help with. You can come to me, you can look at my content, you can go to YouTube and stuff like that. For all the technical stuff, that's not ever really the problem. It's the confidence that's the problem for a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it's when you're scrolling even on TikTok or something and someone's mic is like that horrible crinkly sound. Yeah, it immediately scroll, right? No thanks.
Yeah,
so that's, yeah. So that's a good tip. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to ask one more question to you, and then we can open up the floor to our audience. So everybody who's watching live, if you have any questions regarding video content or, your specific personal brand or anything to do with video content, please go ahead and start typing and posting them in the chat, and then we will go ahead and answer them. But while everyone is doing that, I'm going to ask one more question. So,
Sure.
in your experience, how has video storytelling evolved over the time, especially of you working in this industry? And then what trends do you see emerging in 2024 specifically for video content?
Yeah, I think it's funny because I think, like everything else, I think it's going in cycles. And one of the trends that were quite popular, like I was saying earlier, probably in like the 2015, 2016, 2017, maybe even before that, vlogging was super popular. Then it kind of like fell off actually a little bit. With all the with short form that just came out of nowhere and just like popping off. People, as you said, the attention span got shorter and people just wanted like quick bite-sized videos. But funny enough, now all the platforms are now starting to push longer form videos again. Now they're saying, oh, you can film for 10 minutes again. And now you can film for 5 minutes over here. So I think the kind of vlogging, and I think it's because it's authentic. The authentic vlogging of just connecting with another human is coming back. And another thing that was actually, there was a trend of maybe from last year, for the last couple of years, was the really flashy infographic social ads on short form that were everywhere, like following like Alex Hormozy and Ali Abdul and stuff like that. Their kind of structure that was blowing up. And now I think people are a bit tired of it and they kind of just want stuff that doesn't hurt their eyes so much. They just want to just chill and be able to read and be able to listen. So I see a lot of people slowing it down and really just delivering storytelling in a more slow and chilled out way. So I think those two things are the cycles that I have seen in the last couple of years anyway.
Perfect. Okay. Well, that was amazing. I'm so grateful for you for sharing and answering my questions, and sharing your knowledge with us, but I don't want to hog all of your time. I know I've seen quite a few questions come in the Q&A chat. Okay, so the first question is, what do you use to edit your videos? I find it so daunting.
I'm gonna assume we're talking about the software here. I think maybe. So I use Adobe Premiere Pro to edit my videos, which is like industry standard for what I do, but it's because I have a lot of clients and that's why I use that kind of software. But I don't think you need that. There's a lot of free software out there that you can use. One is CapCut, another one is DaVinci Resolve. They all have free versions, and there's a bunch of others. When I remember them, I might even go and pin it on this LinkedIn, where we mentioned this chat. So yeah, I think just look for free software and get practice in there, and don't worry too much about the software, because I think when you're beginning, it's not really about what you're using. It's just about getting comfortable and learning how to edit. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm a CapCut girly. That's what I use to edit my videos. So okay.
It's really good.
It is, yeah. Like, and even transcribing your audio and everything like that,
Exactly.
I use that all the time. So, okay. Another question we have is, what kind of video content do you think works for boring businesses like manufacturing? That's a good question.
It's a good question. I think all kinds of videos can work for stuff like manufacturing. I think first and foremost, a brand story works for manufacturing, telling, showcasing company culture, showcasing who you guys are, what you do, why you do it. There'll be people that are really interested in that. And also you can do case studies you could also then pitch to other businesses, right? You're manufacturing, so I'm sure you work with other businesses, so you can do case study videos. You can have testimonials that people do. You can get people to to talk about your company, so that way, it's credibility, social proof. Yeah, there's a few off the top of my head. There's probably a bunch more. If we had a bit more time, I'd probably give you like a list of 10 different videos. but yeah, there's a few to start with.
Perfect. Yeah, I know that boring companies or whatever, that's always a question I get as well, being in marketing. How do I make a boring company seem exciting on social media? And it really is about, like showing the people behind the brand and like building that brand story and having, that again, people buy from people, right? So having that connection that you can feel. Okay.
Yeah, I recently done a video for a HR company, and I think that's quite difficult. At first, when they approached me, I was like, yeah, how am I going to do that? Like HR, but no, there's always a lot of ways. Just takes a little bit of research, and there's a bunch of ways to make that interesting, for sure.
Okay, so we have another question here. What has been your favorite project you have worked on so far during your career?
Favorite project? That's hard. That's hard. That's really, really hard. I've done hundreds of videos. Well, two stand out to me for different reasons. One is actually, funny enough, quite a boring sort of video, but the meaning behind it I felt was really impactful. So there was one I did for there's a case study for a company who work with NHS Trust, and NHS Trust over here is basically our healthcare system. And so we got to kind of interview and talk to all the CEO, the execs, all the leadership team. And we have a narrative over here in the UK about how useless our health system is, right? And how they don't do what they're supposed to do. But when you're sat across from the actual people who run the hospitals and save lives and keep people alive, and who all the stress falls under, by the way, and just see how nice they were, and actually how much they actually care about the systems and how everything works. That was one of the most inspirational sessions I've ever had, where I was just listening, and I was in awe of a lot of what they were saying. I was really taken aback. And then lucky we even caught the chairman and their wisdom and just, yeah. So that was one of them. I think I really enjoyed that. And then another one was a bit more fun than that. It was the one you mentioned, like filming in Dubai, because it was the first time I ever got like flown out and with everything covered and paid for to film. It was my first time. So you can imagine I was buzzing. I was super excited. I was just like, oh my gosh, what? You're covering what? Everything? Hotel, food? Yeah, I'm there. And then actually the actual experience was awesome. I mean, it was difficult because it was filming in the middle of the desert, and that's something I won't be rushing back to do. But it was the experience around it, and the campaign came out really, really good. So yeah, that's mine.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I saw when I went to your website the footage from Dubai, and so beautiful, so stunning. I was like, wow,
it was awesome.
The real deal. Okay, so I think we have time for one more question. So I'll read this out and then we can answer it and then wrap things up. So truthfully, I've become tired of feeling rushed by the Instagram and TikTok algorithms to tell quick stories to grow an audience. So I'm looking to pivot into long form content, YouTube actually, to help with my storytelling. Any tips for kicking off a new channel whilst using existing channels as supplements?
Okay, that's interesting. That's cool. I like that. And actually, I think that's a really good direction. I think there's a lot of longevity in YouTube, and YouTube is awesome because from one video, you just have so much runway with being able to chop it up and put it on your other platforms, and it kind of funnel people back to your YouTube. So that's definitely a thing you should take note of when you make your videos. Make sure you're chopping them up. And there's actually a couple. There's a software called Opus Clips, right? For anybody, by the way, who's doing long form content. If it was like a 30 minutes or 40-minute video, it could chop up the best parts and highlight the best parts for you, and also do the caption for you, and then you don't have to hardly do anything. You can just put them on your short form channels. But looping back around to answer that, I'd say work on the YouTube channel with no pressure, because you're just starting it, right? You're just starting out, and this is the best time to experiment with what works for you. While there's not like a bunch of eyes on you, you don't have the pressure of to create content in a certain way or to keep following what the people want. This is your time. So take your time, just be patient and work out your formats, what you enjoy filming, what you enjoy talking about. And so kind of just start there. And when you feel like you're landing on some type of recipe, then you can start funneling people from your other platforms over to check it out and get some feedback. And then you can just incrementally adjust things as you go. Was the intro too long? Was the takeaway not strong enough at the end, right? Was the middle, was it maybe too much fluff? Or should you make it shorter? Could you have made it more concise? Could you have done that video in 10 minutes instead of 30 minutes, for example? So yeah, just take your time, learn, experiment, have fun, and you will hit your rhythm and your format, and then you will start churning out YouTube videos like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, just while the eyes are not there, this is the best time. And everybody thinks the opposite, right? Everyone wants to start something and want eyes immediately to be on them. Actually, it's so much more carefree when the eyes are not there, and you can just sort of experiment yourself. So take that time to do that. That's what I would say.
That's great advice. I totally agree with you. I think, we all want to go viral and everything like that and have people immediately watching us, but that comes with a lot of pressure. So this is such an exciting time, right? To test out different content and to really figure out what you like talking about and everything like that. So fantastic advice. I love it. Okay. So guys, I know there are some questions here, but I'm sure that if you reached out to Denzil on LinkedIn, maybe, you would be open to having a conversation. I'm sorry we didn't get through all of them, but there were some really great questions. And I just want to thank everyone in the room for joining us today. And we really hope this was very educational and impactful for you. I know, Denzil, that I've come away learning so much personally, and I cannot express how grateful I am that you made the time to spend it with us today in the community here today and to share your expertise. Incredible. I'm so glad that we're, industry friends and that we were able to do this. But yeah, you guys, if you, I'll give Denzil an opportunity to plug anything, any projects or where they can find you. Any last remarks you would like, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Emma, for having me on. It's been really fun, actually. I was super nervous before, but I've just enjoyed talking to you and actually answering questions from people. So thank you, everyone who actually put in a question in the chat as well. And if you have any more questions, feel free to hit me up on either LinkedIn, which is just Denzil Brade. You'll find me there. And actually, you can find me on IG with that same name, but my actual handle is Denz_creates on Instagram. So yeah. But again, thank you, Emma. And it was awesome being here and being the first person to kick off season 2. Let's go.
Yes, I couldn't have thought of a better person to kick off season 2. So, and I know you said this was your first time doing a webinar, but you're natural. So I think you're gonna get some more invites very soon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, we'll leave you there. And if you'd like to join our next webinar, please feel free to check out akashamarketing.com. You can register for our upcoming webinars. This season is jam-packed. And yeah, I look forward to continuing to have these conversations with industry experts like Denzil. So thank you. And we'll call it a day there. See you later, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.